world, we did biological classification. Biological classification. And in biological classification, we did 2 kingdom, 3 kingdom, and then 5 kingdom classification system. 5 kingdom classification system of Whittaker. And after 5 kingdom classification system, the first kingdom is that was Monera. So Monera had a certain example, or we can say certain classes. So in Monera, we did Eubacteria, and then we again classify it into blue-green algae, Archaebacteria, and then we are supposed to do with Mycoplasma, and then we go again and we go ahead with the that is Protista, right? Protista, then we will do further fungi, and after fungi we will do Animalia, and then Plantae, so and so on, Plantae. So now please tell me, those who people like, I think the both of you, Ifra and Afia, both of you were there in last class. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we did Eubacteria, and did we complete it BGA as well? Not.
Yes, sir. Reproduction part नहीं किया था.
BGA नहीं किया था हमने, नहीं किया. Please एक बार check. Vaishnav, is it clear to you what we are doing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So do you have a basic idea of 5 kingdom classification system and living bird as well? Living bird is
Yes,
simple.
sir.
Okay, great. So we have to start with BGA. Afia, Ifra, please confirm.
So we have done BGA.
Okay, we have done BGA, and we have to start with Archaebacteria.
Yes.
And then Mycoplasma. Fine. Okay. So we have to start with Archaebacteria. So the C part, Archaebacteria. So look, Archaebacteria are, their cellular structure look like normal bacteria. They are not much more different with the rest of the bacteria, but there is something which is different from the rest of the bacteria. Archaebacteria is considered the oldest cell, or I'll dictate it and then you'll note it down. So before noting down, please try to understand what exactly I want to tell you. So Archaebacteria, they are the oldest cell, or we can say the oldest organism of the world. So most probably scientists confirm that these are the first cell of the earth, or we can say these are the first organism on the earth, and still they are found on the earth. So they are the organism, they are the first organism which formed on the earth, and still they are found on the earth. So on that basis, we say that Archaebacteria are, they are called living fossils. Living fossils. So they are called living fossils. So we call Archaebacteria living fossils because they are still found, they are still alive, and they are the first cell of the earth. तो सबसे पहले अगर आने वाले कोई भी ऑर्गेनिज्म थे तो वो आर्कीबैक्टीरिया थे, और वो अभी भी पाए जाते हैं. And those organisms which born along with Archaebacteria, even they born after hundreds of millions of years after Archaebacteria, like dinosaurs, reptiles and all that, they become the fossils. So अभी भी ये लिविंग स्टेट में पाए जाते हैं. और सबसे पुराना जो फॉसिल पाया गया है, ग्रीनलैंड की रॉक में आर्कीबैक्टीरिया के फॉसिल्स पाए गए हैं. They are the oldest available fossil in the world, right? So Archaebacteria first cell है, ये प्रूव भी हो चुका है फॉसिल्स के बेसिस पे. इनको हम लिविंग फॉसिल बोलते हैं क्योंकि अभी भी पाए जाते हैं अलाइव कंडीशन. अब आर्कीबैक्टीरिया के साथ खास बात क्या है? they are very different from rest of the bacteria. क्यों भाई? Archaebacteria, they are not found in normal conditions. They are found in the extreme environmental condition. They are found in extreme environmental condition. What are those extreme environmental conditions? These are those conditions where no living cell can survive. For example, they are found in the mouth of volcano. So these are called thermosonic vent, and I'll explain it, right? What are the thermosonic vent? So they are found over here. So around this vent, the temperature may be 300 degrees centigrade. So these bacteria have capability to survive in thermosonic vent. They are found in presence of methane gas. Methane is very poisonous gas. No other organism, no other bacteria, no other plant or animal cell can survive in this environment, like methane environment, because this is highly poisonous gas and highly inflammable gas as well, right? But archaebacteria is found over here. They are found in salt lake. In salt lake, there are so many salt lake where the salt concentration is that much high that the no living cell are found over there, but still archaebacteria are found over there. So there are a number of the situation, there are a number of the places where other organism cannot survive, but yes, archaebacteria can survive. So in previous class, I told you that the bacteria have three layers. So bacteria are made up of three layers. So this first layer, this is plasma membrane, and after this plasma membrane, there is another layer, and we call this layer is cell wall. And after cell wall, there is one more layer, and we call this layer what? We call this layer capsule. So there is another layer, we call this layer capsule. Okay, so there are three layers in normal bacteria. So first layer we discussed in last class that the first layer is capsule. Then we discussed that the next layer, that is cell wall. And again, then we discussed this is plasma membrane. So this is the constitution of normal bacteria, plasma membrane. Rest of the characteristic in archaebacteria and normal bacteria are similar. In normal bacteria, we are talking about in normal bacteria. In normal bacteria, this capsule is made up of what? This capsule is made up of carbohydrate. Carbohydrate. Even here, if capsule is present, it will be made up of carbohydrate. But in normal bacteria, cell wall is made up of what? In normal bacteria, cell wall is made up of a substance. We call that substance peptidoglycan. Peptidoglycan. I'm not talking about archaebacteria. Peptidoglycan. Till this time, I'm talking about the normal bacteria. But in the archaebacteria, this cell wall are not made up of peptidoglycan. They are made up of a different kind of the substance, and these different kind of the substance, these different kind of the protein, they are highly stable, they are highly durable kind of the protein. So these protein provide archaebacteria capability to survive against high temperature, high salinity, high salt concentration, high acidity in these conditions. So what are that substance? For sake of example, that substance is pseudomurine. Pseudomurine. So in archaebacteria, their cell wall is made up of a different kind of substance that is called pseudomurine, which provide them highly like high resistance power and make them to survive in extreme environment. Is it clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Clear to everyone? Fine. So further we classify archaebacteria. Please note it down, and I will explain over here in diagram as well. So these peptidoglycan is found in normal bacteria, but pseudomurine is found in archaebacteria. Right? Please note down. Vaishnav, clear?
Yes, sir.
Afia, Ifra, clear है?
Yes, sir.
अच्छा, अभी रिसेंटली आप में से किसी के कोई एग्जाम वगैरह तो नहीं आने वाले? एग्जाम लाइक कोई टेस्ट या यूनिट टेस्ट वगैरह हो गए?
Yes, sir.
Someone are going to start from October. Sorry, from November 1st.
From November onward, the test will start in your school.
Sir, in my school too.
Okay, in November onward. So do you have any basic idea like what will be the syllabus for those tests? Do you have any guess or idea or clear idea in fact? कोई idea है कितना?
Sir, in my school, unit first, unit second, and half of the unit third.
Oh, unit first, unit second, and half of the unit third. Let me check it. Unit first, unit second, half of the unit third. November, this is October. Chalo, let's see. Or Ifra, same with you.
Sir, our chapter cell and structure is completed.
Chapter 7 is completed.
Yes, sir.
Oh, means you people are too late. And what about you, Vaishnav?
Sir, unit exam has been completed and
Okay.
terminal exam is completed, sir.
Okay, okay, fine. So, right. So your next exam will be on December.
Still, we did not get any information about that, sir.
Great, fine. So no issue. We'll do it. We'll try to do it. Okay. So let's just start with this. Note it down, please. Archaebacteria. Archaebacteria are characterized by absence of peptidoglycan in their cell wall. Absence of peptidoglycan in their cell wall. Instead, they contain the cell wall. Instead, they contain cell wall, which is made up of protein and some polysaccharide. Full stop. Like in methanogen, it is made up of pseudomurine. In methanogen, it is made up of pseudomurine. Next point. Archaebacteria are called living fossils. Archaebacteria are called living fossils, and they are found in archaebacteria are called living fossils, and they are found in extreme environmental condition. They are found in extreme environmental condition.
Sir, please repeat from Archaebacteria.
Archaebacteria are called living fossils. Archaebacteria are called living fossils, and they are found in extreme environmental conditions. Full stop. In broadly, archaebacteria may be are of two types. So let me explain you. Archaebacteria are basically two types of bacteria. The first one are obligate anaerobes, and the next one are facultative anaerobes. So can any one of you explain what are the obligate anaerobes and what are the facultative? You will get frequently these two terms, obligate and facultative. Frequently you will get these terms in biology, and they are actually generic terms. They are basic term, universal term. Any one of you? Do you have any idea? Okay. So do you have idea aerobe and anaerobes? Aerobic bacteria, anaerobic bacteria? No? Fine. So let me explain you what are the aerobic and anaerobic bacteria. Then I will explain you what are the facultative. Look. So normally all of the cells which are found on the earth, they are of two types. So first are aerobic cells. Aerobic cell, or we can say aerobic organism or bacteria. So aerobic bacteria are those which take oxygen, for their survival. Means without oxygen they cannot survive, right? So they are called aerobic bacteria. Take oxygen for respiration. To be very precise, take OT for respiration. So they require O2. If oxygen is absent, they won't survive anymore, right? So second one, they are anaerobic. Anaerobic cell or anaerobic bacteria. So anaerobic cell or anaerobic bacteria, they do not require O2 for survival, or we can say do not require O2 for respiration. They generate energy without oxygen. So there are two types of the bacteria: aerobic bacteria and anaerobic bacteria. Right? Clear? Aerobic and anaerobic.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So anaerobes are those which do not require what? Which do not require oxygen. That is true. Now come to the obligate anaerobe and facultative anaerobe. Look. So suppose that I am a vegetarian. So I am vegetarian person. So I will always go for veg kind of food, right? So there are, in vegetarian there are two type of the people. Some of the people like me, they are obligate vegetarian, right? Obligate vegetarian, if I will go anywhere, I will eat like any veg kind of food only. So in case if there are some places where I won't get vegetarian food or vegetarian food, I will try to search any other option, but I won't go for what? I won't go for non-veg. Even if I will die, then I won't go for non-veg, right? So I am obligate vegetarian. Suppose that I have a friend, so he is also a strict vegetarian, right? But if he get like he won't get vegetarian food, and he's searching here and there, and still he is not getting vegetarian food. So what he do? He can go for non-veg food for his or her survival, right? So he or she will be facultative vegetarian, right? So facultative means those have option for another thing. So obligate anaerobes are those which bacteria, they will survive only in absence of oxygen. And if oxygen will be present, they will die or they will stop working, right? And there are another kind of bacteria. So obligate anaerobes, for example, like, let me tell you example as well. They are methanogen. So methanogen are bacteria, they will survive only in presence of oxygen, but they methanogens are bacteria, they are obligate anaerobes. They will survive only in absence of oxygen. If oxygen is present, they will die, they won't survive anymore. What about the facultative anaerobes? Facultative anaerobes, for example, there is a bacteria and that is rhizobium. So rhizobium is bacteria. Generally, rhizobium function that are active in presence of, in absence of oxygen, in absence of O2. But it will become inactive, but it won't die. It won't die in presence of O2. So these bacteria will survive in presence or absence of both O2. So if O2 is present, still they will survive. If O2 is absent, still they will survive. So facultative anaerobes are preferably found in anaerobic condition, but if aerobic conditions are present, they won't die. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Please note it down. Obligate anaerobes are those bacteria. Obligate anaerobes are those bacteria which will survive only in anaerobic environment, which will survive only in anaerobic condition, like anaerobic condition, that is in absence of O2, that is in absence of O2, like methanogen, full stop. In presence of O2, or aerobic condition, in presence of O2 or aerobic condition, they will die. In presence of O2 or aerobic condition, they will die. Next, facultative anaerobes. Facultative anaerobes are those bacteria which preferably lives in absence of O2, lives in absence of O2, that is anaerobic condition, full stop. If anaerobic environment is not present, or we can say environment is aerobic, they may become inactive, but they do not die. They may become inactive, but they do not die. Is it clear to you, all of you? Aerobic, anaerobic, obligate anaerobes, facultative anaerobes?
So,
Yes, sir.
Great. So come to next one. Now, this was a broad category of like bacteria. So on the basis of physiology, we have divided these bacteria in two categories: facultative anaerobes and their obligate anaerobes. Then again, we further divide these bacteria on the basis of habitat. So archaebacteria, they have major three types. So they have been further divided in major three categories or three types. So what are these three types? First one, they are called methanogen. So what are the methanogen bacteria? Methanogen bacteria are obligate anaerobe, anaerobes. So first thing, that they are obligate anaerobic bacteria. We have studied 2 seconds before. Second important thing, what they do actually, they are found mainly in marshy area. They are found mainly in marshy area. They are found in gut of some bovine. They are found in gut of herbivore like buffalo, herbivores, deer, and in marshy area in coal mines. What they exactly do, these bacteria, they convert formic acid and CO2 into methane gas. So these are the bacteria which are found in presence of methane gas, right? Clear?
yes, sir.
Second, let me tell you some extra point. This is this is not out of your syllabus. We will discuss this thing in when I will teach you human physiology. So in human physiology, I'll teach you that humans are the organism or animal which cannot digest complex kind of complex kind of carbohydrate, that is called cellulose. So we cannot digest cellulose, but bovine can digest cellulose. Do you have any idea why how they can digest cellulose? If you eat paper, this paper, if you eat paper, if you eat this hanky, you won't digest, you won't be able to digest it. But if your cow eat that paper, if your goat eat that paper, or if your sheep eat that paper or this hanky, they will digest it. So how it's possible? You know,
So
paper is
maybe
made up of,
they put the enzyme. Maybe they have the enzyme.
yeah, they have enjoyed. Vaishnav, do you have any idea? You know, we human cannot digest cellulose. But so this hanky is made up of cellulose, that paper is made up of cellulose. So human cannot digest cellulose. So whatever the cellulose we will eat, it will go out of our body in the form of stool. So you know, so but when herbivore, they eat cellulose, and you know, they are grazing animals, they are grazers. So what exactly they do? They eat 90% of cellulose only. So in whole day they eat cellulose. So what exactly they do? They can digest these cellulose. Actually, they have an enzyme called cellulase. So how does this cellulase enzyme? Actually, they have methanogen. These bacteria, they have methanogen bacteria in their stomach. In methanogen bacteria, they produces an enzyme called cellulase, and that enzyme help digestion of cellulose. So they help in digestion of cellulose. This was an extra point. Did you got my point? Get it?
Yes, sir.
So next kind of bacteria, they are called halophiles. Halophiles. So you know, in Latin, halo means salt, and philes mean dweller. So halophiles are those bacteria which are found in, they occur in salt rich water. They are found in very high salt concentration, right? And they are their cell membrane, note it down one more thing, their cell membrane have carotenoid pigment. Their cell membrane have carotenoid pigment which protect these bacteria against solar radiation. These bacteria have a special kind of, these bacteria have a special type of lipid. A special lipid means that is fat. A special type of lipid in cell membrane. A special type of lipid in their cell membrane which protect it. So halophiles are found. Where are they are found? Example, they are found in Dead Sea. What is Dead Sea? Can you tell me what is Dead Sea? Any one of you have idea? Dead Sea, where it is? Look, Dead Sea is the sea where you cannot sink down. If you will jump on the sea, you are you're not going to sink down. You will keep on floating on the surface of sea. The reason behind it, Dead Sea have highest salinity in the world. So Dead Sea have highest saline water. So salinity of water or salt concentration of water is that much that you are not going to drown it inside the water. You will keep on floating on the water. So first important thing. Second important thing, we call it Dead Sea because the salt concentration is that much that no bacteria or no plant or no any other animal can survive in this water, right? So अभी कोई भी प्लांट यहाँ पे नहीं पाया जाता, कोई भी एनिमल नहीं पाया जाता, मींस कोई भी लिविंग ऑर्गेनिज्म यहाँ पे नहीं पाया जाता. तो जब इस ओशनिक वाटर में ये अकेला ऐसा वाटर बॉडी है जिसपे कोई भी ऑर्गेनिज्म नहीं पाया, इसलिए अपन इसको डेड सी बोलते हैं. बट halophiles means archaebacteria are found even here. Dead Sea is the only sea which do not form any kind of the wave. इसमें wave का formation नहीं होता. Third point, Dead Sea में किसी भी तरह से कोई भी स्टीमर बोट या इसका ट्रांसपोर्टेशन नहीं होता, कोई भी ये शिप वगैरह नहीं चलते. रीजन ये है कि सॉल्ट का कंसेंट्रेशन इतना ज्यादा है कि प्रोपेलर जाम हो जाते हैं, राइट. तो यहाँ पे किसी भी तरह का कोई ट्रांसपोर्टेशन भी, नॉर्मल जो मैकेनिकल सीज वो चलते हैं, मोटर्स वगैरह होती है, वो नहीं चल पाती इस सी में. और खास बात क्या है, दिस इज द सी विच इज लैंडलॉक, चारों तरफ एक कंट्री से घिरा हुआ है.
Sir, I did not understand what you're saying, sir. I don't know Hindi.
Okay, you don't know Hindi, fine, so no issue. Look, so this is acha. So what part of the country you belong to? Where Vaishno? Where are you from? Vaishno? Which part do you belong to? Look, so Dead Sea, you got it? All this, whatever I told you till this point?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So you know, these are the bacteria which are found in Dead Sea. These bacteria, they are found in Dead Sea. The reason behind it, Dead Sea is a peculiar kind of sea. What is the peculiarity of Dead Sea? It is the only sea which is surrounded by many countries. So it is, we call it landlocked sea. Mean landlocked sea, those seas which are surrounded by many countries. So this sea is surrounded by Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Palestine, and Israel. So these are the countries which surround it. And this is the most saline lake, or we can say this is the most saline sea across the globe. So the salinity, it have the highest salinity across the globe. And the third important thing is that if you will jump on the sea, you are not going to sink down in the sea. The reason behind it, water is that much saline that you will keep on floating on the surface of sea. So that is the peculiarity of Dead Sea. Dead Sea is called Dead Sea because it do not have any kind of animal, or it do not have any kind of plant. But still, these are the bacteria which are found in these extreme environmental conditions. This extreme environmental condition where rest of the organism are not found, they are, these halophile bacteria survive in those conditions as well. Clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Great. The third type of methanogen bacteria, third type of archaebacteria are, they are called halophiles. Halophile. So halophiles are those bacteria, sorry, heliophiles, I'm sorry. These are called heliophiles. Halophiles we have studied. Heliophiles. Either we call them heliophiles, or we can also call them thermoacidophiles. Thermoacidophiles. So heliophiles or thermoacidophiles, they are the bacteria. These bacteria, helio means, helios means sun. In Latin, helios means sun. So these are the bacteria which are found in very high temperature. Very high temperature. These are the bacteria which are found in thermo-oceanic vent. Can you tell me what are the thermo-oceanic vent? Thermo-oceanic vent. What is the thermo-oceanic vent? Actually, suppose that this is a sea floor. It's a sea floor. And in sea floor, volcanoes are not found only on the ground. Actually, volcanoes are also found in the sea floor. So these are the holes of, or these are the mouth of volcano on the sea floor, and lava keep on coming from this vent. So they kept on delivering lava. So these lava get cooled in presence of the water, because they deliver this lava in water only, inside water. So around the water, around this water, the temperature will be very high. So these kind of volcano are called thermo-oceanic vent, or we can say these kind of volcanic opening or opening of volcano are called thermo-oceanic vent. So in around these vent there are certain bacteria. These bacteria are called heliophiles or thermoacidophiles. So thermoacidophiles are those bacteria which can tolerate very high temperature. Clear?
Yes, sir.
So archaebacteria are of three types: methanogen, halophiles and thermoacidophiles. So these are the basic classification of archaebacteria. Fine. Ifra, Afia. Clear to you, both of you?
Yes, sir.
Great. Now we are going to start next topic. So the next topic is, the fourth example was mycoplasma. Do you have any idea of mycoplasma? Very important. Mycoplasma. You will get question in your NEET examination as well in mycoplasma, from mycoplasma. Any one of you have idea about mycoplasma? Okay. So mycoplasma, they have one more name. So another name of mycoplasma is PPLO. So PPLO means pleuro pneumonia like organism. So PPLO are pleuro pneumonia like organism. So PPLO are also called mycoplasma. One more important thing, mycoplasma or PPLO, they are the smallest free living organism of the world. They are the smallest. So this is the question. You will get this question, like it has been asked many times in your NEET examination, but sometime the answer will be mycoplasma, sometime the answer will be PPLO, because both are the same thing. We call mycoplasma PPLO also. So they are the smallest free living organism. They are the smallest free living organism of the world. Their size may be 0.1 to 0.15 micrometer. Their size may be 0.1 to 0.15 micrometer. Next, these mycoplasma are pleomorphic. What is pleomorphic? Let me explain you. Pleo means different, morphic means frame, shape. Morphic means morphology, means shape. So these are those organisms which can change their shape. They have capability of changing their shape. That's why we call them pleomorphic. So write it down. They are pleomorphic. That is, they have capability. They are pleomorphic. That is, they have capability to change their shape. They are pleomorphic. That is, they have capability to change their shape. Next one. They are also called joker of. This question have also been asked one time in your NEET examination. So they are also called joker of plant kingdom. They are also called joker of plant kingdom. The reason they can change their shape, they can change their color, that's why we call them joker. So that is the logic behind it. They are also called the joker of plant kingdom. Now let me show you the shape and structure of mycoplasma. Give me 1 second. Structure of mycoplasma. So, and when I started this class, even in yesterday class, even in today's class, I told you that normally a standard bacteria have capsule, then the second covering cell wall, and then the next covering that is plasma membrane. So normally bacteria have 3 covering. Monera. Where is Monera? Monera. There. Yes, this is mycoplasma. So normally bacteria have 3 covering: capsule, and then cell wall, and then plasma membrane. But this is the only bacteria. It's also a bacteria. It is the only bacteria or prokaryote which do not, neither they have capsule nor they have cell wall. Their outer membrane is lipoprotein membrane. This is like plasma membrane. So they do not have cell wall. These are the only bacteria which do not have cell wall. First important. Second important thing, I have discussed with you that all of the bacteria, their DNA is circular. Their DNA is not straight chain like our DNA. So their DNA is circular. But here the DNA is that is straight. They have straight chain DNA. They do not have circular DNA. So they are very different from the rest of the bacterial cell. Plus, yes, do like the size of ribosome that resemble with rest of the bacteria, their activity, their like physiology, it matches with the bacteria. They are prokaryotic cell, but the two things do not matches, that they do not have cell wall, neither they have cell wall, and nor they have any kind of what, nor they have any type of circular DNA. So they have straight DNA. Clear? Is it clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Fine. So note it down. First, mycoplasma or the only bacterial cell. Mycoplasma are the only bacterial cell which do not have mycoplasma are the only bacterial cell which do not have any kind of cell wall or capsule. Full stop. Continue in this point only. These organism have plasma membrane as their external covering. These organisms have plasma membrane as their external covering. Full stop. Next one. The DNA of mycoplasma, is not circular. DNA of mycoplasma is not circular like other bacteria, but it is straight chain like human. It is straight chain like human. Next point. Most of the mycoplasma are parasite. Most of the mycoplasma are parasite in plant and animal. But some of them are saprophyte. Take the screenshot of this diagram and draw it at your notebook, right? So do you have basic idea like what are the parasite and what are the saprophyte? Afia, Ifra, Vaishnav, please tell me. Do you have any idea what are the saprophyte, what are the parasite? Feel free to ask. If you do not have an idea, no issue. I'll tell you.
Sir, in saprophyte, they obtain their food from dead and decaying material.
Very good, great. And what about the parasite?
Sir, they live on the living host without killing them.
Great. So clear. So look, saprophyte are those organisms which derive their nutrition from dead and decaying material. For example, fungi are a type of saprophyte. Fungi get their nutrition from dead and decaying matter. So we call them saprophyte. In the same way, these mycoplasma are saprophyte. And the parasite are those livings which take food from another living. For sake of example, mosquito taking blood from our body. So they are living and they are dependent on living like humans, right? So they are a type of parasite. So they are ectoparasite. in plant, in case of plant, there is Cuscuta. Cuscuta, you must have studied this Cuscuta at your 8th or 7th level. So these Cuscuta are found on angiosperm plant. So they are maginoidal-like structures, and they are light green color of the plant. You will see them abundantly in this winter season. So these Cuscuta, they take nutrition from the another plant. So these are the two parasites. So parasite are those organisms which take nutrition from the body of another living. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Great, great. Ifra, clear?
Yes, sir.
Great. So now go through your NCERT and have a glance. Do you have any idea? Because we have completed our Monera. So do you have any question, any doubt in Monera kingdom?
Sir,
Yes.
sir, could you please explain the reproduction part of Monera?
Bacterial reproduction? Yeah, definitely. I'll do that.
It is given in NCERT.
So how does they reproduce? Like how does bacteria reproduce? So I have a question. These are unicellular animal. So do or can they have capability of reproducing like sexually, or do they have sexual kind of reproduction? Any idea? Tell me if you have any idea. No, no idea.
No, sir.
Okay. So first kind of reproduction, that is majority of bacteria, they reproduce asexually. I'll show you a diagram. Look, majority of Monera, they reproduce like this one. This is asexual reproduction, and we call it binary fission. So in binary fission, we have discussed in bacteria as well. In binary fission, what happens? First, their DNA, or you can say their genetic material, this is nucleoid. So we call the genetic material nucleoid. I have mentioned this point in your when I was explaining you bacteria. So we have jotted down this point. So we cannot use nucleus term form for this genetic material of bacteria because they do not have proper nucleus. So for nucleus term, there are certain eligibility. If we are talking about the nucleus, or if you are using nucleus term, it must have nuclear envelope, it must have nucleoplasm, and it must have DNA. So here in this case, nuclear membrane is not present. Nucleoplasm is not present. Only DNA is present. So we do not use nucleus term for the center or nucleus of these prokaryote. So we use the term nucleoid. Nucleoid means that is genetic material or DNA of bacteria. So what happens when a bacteria attain a certain size or maturity? So generally, a normal bacteria attain maturity or certain size in 20 minutes. So after 20 minutes, what will happen? It will attain, means the lifetime of a bacteria is 20 minutes. What will happen? We call that bacteria are immortal. They never die. Even amoeba is immortal. They both are immortal. So how we can say it's immortal? There are two contradictory terms. In first line, I said that bacteria have average lifespan of 20 minutes. And in the second term, in the second sentence statement, I am saying that bacteria are immortal. So both are the contradictory things. So first, what happens when any bacteria achieve a maturity, means complete its 20-minute life, it is not going to die. What will happen? A small ridge-like structure or a small this notch-like structure or depression-like structure formation will start taking place. Before depression, its genetic material or nucleoid divided into two parts. After that, these nuclei, the cell membrane begin to form transverse septum. This part is called septum. After this septum reaches to midpoint, this get fuses, and now the transverse septum become complete. After completion of transverse septum, this bacteria divide into two parts, and these are called daughter cell. Again, these cells separated, they will start growing, and they will spend their lifespan next 20 minutes. And after 20 minutes, they will again divide. So by this way, after 20 minutes, they start dividing, they do not die anymore. So by this way, we can say bacteria are immortal. So this is the mode of reproduction. It is asexual mode of reproduction, and this asexual mode of reproduction is called binary fission. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Please tell me. So the mode of reproduction is asexual, right? Take this screenshot and note it down. Monera generally reproduce asexually. Monera generally reproduce asexually by the process of binary fission. By the process of binary fission. By the process of binary fission. Full stop. The binary fission takes place in favorable condition. Binary fission takes place in favorable conditions. So, does bacteria also reproduce by the sexual means? Do they have any sexual reproduction process? Tell me. Vaishnav, do you have any idea? Sexual reproduction? Ifra? Afia? No idea?
No idea.
Okay. So fine, let me explain. Yes, they can reproduce sexually. So bacteria, or we can say Monera, have capability to reproduce sexually. So how does they reproduce sexually? How do they form gamete? No, gamete formation do not take place in this bacteria. So, but this is very rare. What happens? There are two bacteria, and some of the bacteria have this kind of structure, tube-like structure. The number of these structures, these are called pilus or pili. These pilus or pili are pipe-like structure. Their number varies from 1 to 4. Those bacteria which have pili, they are called male bacteria, and those bacteria which do not have pili, they are called female bacteria. What happens? They make the connection with these pipe-like structure to other bacteria. So this process is called conjugation. Conjugation, right? In conjugation, they make a bridge-like structure. This is called conjugation bridge. After conjugation bridge, the donor bacteria, it transfer a small fragment of DNA to another bacteria, the bacteria which is recipient bacteria. So the donor bacteria become male and recipient bacteria become female. So it transfers some part of DNA to another bacteria, right? By this way, this bacteria also get the DNA, and it also develop pilus. Means now the female bacteria becomes male bacteria, and this kind of reproduction is called sexual reproduction in bacteria, and the process is called conjugation. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Note it down. Take the screenshot and note it down. Conjugation is the sexual reproduction of bacteria. Conjugation is the sexual reproduction of bacteria. Full stop. In this process, a donor bacteria passes fragment of DNA. Donor bacteria passes fragment of DNA to recipient bacteria. Donor bacteria passes the fragment of DNA to recipient bacteria. Full stop. Clear to everyone?
Yes,
Any more
sir.
question? Yes, Ifra. Tell me. Any more question?
No, sir. No question.
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
Great. So this was all about the kingdom Monera. So now we are going to start the third chapter, that is kingdom Protista. So let's start with the Protista. So what are the Protista, or what are the protists? So Protista or protist they are actually eukaryotic organisms, right? So their body is made up of eukaryotic cells. So first and foremost, please note down the general characteristic of protista. So the second heading is, like second chapter is kingdom protista. So while discussing 5 kingdom classification system, I have already explained that how the protista kingdom was formed. So you know, we call protista kingdom as a mixed kingdom. We call it mixed kingdom. So how does protista is a mixed kingdom? What happens while discussing? We discuss that protista is made up of unicellular eukaryotic organism. So previously this kingdom was not over there, and after some of the scientists, they came to know that there are certain unicellular eukaryotic organisms. So what they did, they taken out unicellular eukaryotic plant from Plantae. So what we did,
Allah Kepangla, what is a mixed kingdom?
okay, yes, Vaishnav, this is called mixed kingdom. Protista is called mixed kingdom. So why it is called mixed kingdom? That's what I am telling. So protista is because we have taken organism. Yes. Are you saying anything, Vaishnav? Look, protista is called mixed kingdom. So why we call protista as a mixed kingdom? Because we have taken organism from all of the rest of the kingdom. Like we have borrowed some organism from Plantae, some of from fungi, some of from Animalia. So we have borrowed these organisms and we have kept them in single umbrella or a single kingdom, that is called protista. So we have taken organism from all the rest of the 3 kingdoms. So that's why this is called mixed kingdom. So from Plantae, we taken unicellular eukaryotic organism from Plantae and put them in a kingdom called protista. Again, from Animalia kingdom. So what we did, we have taken unicellular eukaryotic form from Animalia kingdom. We have taken unicellular eukaryotic form from fungi. So actually, from all these kingdoms, we have taken unicellular eukaryotic form and made a different kingdom that is called protista kingdom. So that's why this is called mixed kingdom. Note it down. Protista is called a mixed kingdom. Protista is called mixed kingdom because we have taken unicellular eukaryotic organism, from Plantae, Animalia, and fungi. From Plantae, Animalia, and fungi, and kept them in a single kingdom, protista. Full stop. So all protistans are made up of unicellular eukaryotic cell. Okay, just a minute. Give me 1 second. Protista cell. So let me give you example of a common protestant cell. This is a common protestant cell. Look. So the outer layer is made up of pellicle. This pellicle is not found anywhere across the rest of the like classification system or in any other kingdom. Pellicle is, it's not a cell wall. It's neither cell wall nor like capsule, or neither it's like plasma membrane. So what is this? Pellicle is external covering. It is made up of a stretchable protein, right? And this is found only in Protista kingdom. So around this eukaryotic cell, it try to, or it help to protect this prokaryotic cell. Right. Next, they have Golgi operators, they have mitochondria, they have endoplasmic reticulum, they have nucleus as well, because they are eukaryotic cells. They have pellicle, and they have some water vacuole, they have ribosome, and they have flagellum. So flagellum may or may not be there. It is not mandatory that flagellum must be over there. They may have or may not have flagellum, and this help in locomotion. So take the screenshot. This is a common Protestant cell, and start writing now. Note down first one. Generally, Protestant have a outer covering pellicle, or it may be cell wall. So some of the Protestant may have cell wall as well, made up of cellulose. We'll discuss it. And but the pellicle is structure is found only in Protista. This structure is not found in any other thing. So the Protestant may have outer covering pellicle or cell wall. Full stop. Pellicle is external covering which is made up of cellulose, and it is stretchable, which is made up of cellulose, and it is stretchable. Next point. Protestants may be. Did you take a screenshot of this one? Taken?
Yes, sir.
So let me note down. So nutrition in Protestant. Protestant may be autotroph. Autotroph means photosynthetic form to which can make their own food. Photosynthetic form. Protestant may be autotroph, saprophyte, means they take material from dead and decaying matter. They may be holozoic. What is holozoic mode of nutrition? They may be holozoic. So what are the holozoic organisms? So nutrition may be autotrophic, saprophytic, some of them even may be parasite, but they are exceptional, but they may be holozoic. What is holozoic mode of nutrition? Any one of you? Afia, Efra, Vaishnav?
Sir, in holozoic nutrition, we take
Yes,
whole
please
food
be loud.
inside. Sir, in holozoic nutrition, we take whole food inside and then digest it
Great, very good.
inside the body.
Excellent. Yes, that is true. Like we are holozoic. So what happens? Holozoic are those organisms which take food either in particle form or in bites and take inside their body, and then they digest it. So take food as a whole. So like we are the humans, we take bread in particle or in the form of pieces, but there are some other organisms like steak, they engulf it. So holozoic are those organisms which take food inside, either they engulf it or take food inside in the form of particle, and then they digest inside their body. Note it down. Holozoic are those organisms which engulf food inside their body and then they digestive. Next point. They may have cilia or flagella. They may have cilia or flagella. They may have cilia or flagella as the locomotory organ. As the locomotory organ. Now, classification of Protista. Classification of Protista. So put the heading classification of Protista. So we have further divided Protista into following category. So in classification of Protista, we classified Protista on the basis of their nutrition, right? So they have been divided into three main groups. So there are three main group of Protista. So the first category is that is photosynthetic Protista. Photosynthetic. So photosynthetic protistans are those protistans which perform photosynthesis, right? They make their own food by the process of photosynthesis. Clear? So photosynthetic protistans. So which are the further they are following animals or following organism which comes under this umbrella. So further photosynthetic protistans, there are dinoflagellate. In your NCERT, the classification is different kind of the classification. It's not a classification actually. They have just given dinoflagellate, euglenoids, slime molds, protozoans, and this is very confusing. So further, this is the systematic classification of Protista. So we have divided them into dinoflagellate, dinoflagellate. Next, the second one is that chrysophytes. So the chrysophytes. Dinoflagellate, chrysophytes. Then it will be euglenoid or desmids. Euglenoid, and further, yes, euglenoid. Again, the second category is that those which are saprophytic or consumer. So we call them consumer decomposers. The second category is consumer decomposer protist. So in consumer decomposer protist, there are only one type of organism which fall under this category, and they are just slime mold. So slime mold or those organisms actually, so these photosynthetic form, they have been separated or taken from plant kingdom. Then consumer decomposer, they have taken, means slime mold have been taken out from fungi and put into this category, this group. And last but not the least, those organisms which have been taken out from Animalia, they have been put in third category. They are called protozoa. So they are called protozoan protistan. In protozoan protistan, further we have divided them on the basis of their locomotion. So first they are called flagellated protozoa. Flagellated protozoa. And the second one are, they are amoeboid protozoa. Amoeboid protozoa. And the third one are called, they are called sporozoans. Sporozoans protozoa. Last but not the least, they are called ciliated protozoa. Ciliated protozoa. So this is the complete classification of Protista. So further we have divided Protista on three classes: photosynthetic protistans, which take nutrition by photosynthesis; then consumer decomposer, those either they eat or they decompose certain things, means they are saprophyte, and under this category they are a single kind of class, that is a slime mold, and then protozoan protistan. So these are basically made up of animal cells, and further on the basis of locomotion, we have divided protozoan protistans into four classes: flagellated, amoeboid, sporozoans, and ciliated. and we will study all these classes in same sequence in next class. So before that, please let me know if you have any confusion, any question, any doubt, any query regarding till what we have studied till that today. All of you, Vaishno, Ifra, Afia, do you have any doubt?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
Everything is crystal clear.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So are you able to jot down whatever I dictate?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Vaishno, do you have any problem?
No, sir.
You are able to note it down, everything, whatever I am dictating you? And you're
Yes,
getting that?
sir.
Fine,
Yes,
that's
sir.
great. So what is next? That after this class, revise all those concepts and all those things, whatever we have studied till today. And in case if you are feeling any problem anywhere, tick that thing or jot down anywhere. And whenever we have next class, so ask me in next class. Most next class will be on Thursday on same time, right? So ask me in Thursday class. And in from Thursday onward, we will start with this classification of the protista, and we will start with the photosynthetic protista. Clear?
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
So bye bye.